What happens when I'm out in the middle of the woods and I'm hiking around and I go to check the time and my phone dies, or I go to check my online map or my GPS on my phone and the battery is all gone? Unless you have one of those fancy dancy solar chargers, I'm guessing you might need a little bit of help to get back to where you need to go. So if you've never used a compass before, I strongly suggest giving it a try. And in today's lesson, we are going to take a look at making our own compass and trying that out, even though it's something I've never done before. Look at the parts of the compass, how to use the compass, and then we'll take you on one of the color courses here at Boston School Forest. So not all of us will have a compass at home to be able to use, but I found this really great way to make your own compass, and I'm not sure how it's going to work. It's the first time that I'm going to try it, so why don't you try it with me? All you need is a bowl that has some water in it. So I've got a bowl of water. I have a cap to a water bottle, and then I have a needle for sewing. It's a metal sewing needle. And then some magnets, and I just grabbed some magnets off of our refrigerator. We went to the Grand Canyon a few years ago and I bought these like touristy magnets. So I'm gonna see if that works. To magnetize it, we are just gonna take the magnet and take the sewing needle, and I'm gonna start it where the thread goes through and go out to the pointy part. So I'm just gonna do this, and in the video that I watched and in the lesson plan, it said to do it like a lot of times. So I'm gonna do it, because I know I don't have a very strong magnet here. I'm gonna do it like 25 times. And so we're trying to make it so that the needle part, the pokey part, is going to point north. So rubbing that needle in one direction. Notice I'm starting every time by the hole where the thread would go through and ending up at the shiny part. Okay. All right, so there it's magnetized. So now I'm going to set it, see if I can balance it right on the cap. And then pick this up and see if it works. I don't know if you can see it. Oh no, you can't see it because my thumb is in the way. So it's kind of turning. You can see it. It's kind of turning a little bit. Okay, I gotta flip you around. So we have a little wind out here, I guess. It kind of blows our needle around. But one of the things that I keep noticing is that like this needle is kind of pointing like up and down from where I'm standing right now. And this needle kind of points like almost in the same like general directions. But the lesson that I read and the video that I watched showed that, you know, the red needle right here is pointing north. And this needle, I thought this was going to be the north end of the needle and this was going to be the south end of the needle. But apparently when I rubbed the magnet on it, the needle had a different plan, because it seems to me like this should be switched around. But it's like the part where the thread goes through is pointing north, and the part where you'd like poke through the fabric, the pointy part, is actually pointing south. So I wonder how that magnetizing didn't work or worked or just worked differently than I thought. Isn't that cool about science? Like you think you're going to get one thing and then it's like something else, and now you got to go back and think like, I wonder why that was. I wonder what happened. So the parts of the compass work like this. This big flat plastic piece that kind of takes up the most space. It's almost like a little bit of a rectangle type shape. That's called the base plate. And you want to hold that in your hand as flat as possible. Okay, so that's going to be the part that's down. And then the part on the top here with all the numbers, that's called the housing. And it rotates, and so it kind of works like a dial. So we also kind of refer to this as a dial. Now, it's set up like a circle, right? And circles are measured in degrees. Temperature is also measured in degrees, but circles are measured in degrees between 0 all the way up to 360. And on our dial, each number is, it's only counted by 20, so 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and so on. And then there are these shorter ticks in between. And so it's 20, and then that tick in the middle would be 30, and then 40, and then this one would be, yep, 50, and then this one is 60, yep, 70, 80. The E would be what degrees? 90 degrees, and then 100 degrees, and so on. But then you can see that there are some even smaller little ticks in between there, those little hash marks, and those are count by twos. So this is 20, then 22, 24, 26, 28, and then 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, right? And then we've got these N's and the E's and the S and the W's, and you might have heard before, never eat soggy waffles, north, east, south, and west. But there's other parts of this compass you're going to need to be familiar with as well. This arrow right here on the base plate is called your directional arrow. So that's going to be the direction that you're heading in, okay? So that's you always want that pointing out from your belly button or out from yourself. But within that housing, then, there's another arrow in there. Half of the arrow is black, and the arrow part with the head on it, that's red, and that's what we call a shed, red shed, and it's our orienteering arrow. And when you're actually putting this, when you're actually using the compass, you want to put your magnetic needle, okay, that's the part that's kind of floating on the inside there. Again, half of it's red and half of it's black. You want to line it up with the colors of the orienteering arrow underneath it. So what I'm doing here, I just move my compass until that directional arrow lines up in the shed. Sometimes we call that magnetic needle red Fred. And so there's a saying that says, put red Fred in the shed. And so when you do that, now we know that this direction, since this is our directional arrow, the direction that this arrow is pointing is north. Now that we've had a chance to try to make our own compass and know the parts of the compass, the next thing to know is how to use your compass. And so the first thing that we would want to take a look at is our sheet that tells us what we need, which direction we need to go. Because if we're going to do a compass course, we can give you the bearings and then how far to go, and then it'll be up to you to find that tree to see if you can get to the same spot. And if you follow these steps, you should be able to do it. So again, I'm going to take a look at my compass, and I'm always going to hold it flat. Just like that. So as flat as I can, not tilting down, up to the side, as flat as I can. And then I'm going to take a look at the bearing. And so the first bearing on my list for the red course is going to be 240 degrees. So I'm going to take my dial and I'm going to match up 240 degrees with my directional arrow. So right there, I don't know if you can see it, there's like a little white line that I'm trying to line it up with. So moving it to 240 degrees so I line it up. That's called finding your bearing and then dialing it in. So dialing, I'm going to turn that dial to dial it in, okay? What's your bearing? Dial it in, and then you want to lock it in. And the way that you want to lock it in is by keeping that directional arrow pointing out. Like imagine you have like an arrow coming right out of your belly button. That's where you want to make sure that it is pointing straight out and that your base plate is flat. And then you're going to turn your body, plug it in, and then you're going to turn your body so that your body is facing the direction. A lot of times I see kids moving this compass all over the place, but unless your body is going that direction, you're not going to find the right tree. So I'm going to move it, and as I move it, I'm going to put that red magnetic needle in that red shed. And once I've done that, then I know which direction I'm going to go in. But I'm not just going to start walking right away. I'm actually going to try to find like a sight line. So if I'm looking straight ahead, I see that there's a tree, I don't know, 40 feet, 50 feet in front of me. So I know that that tree is right lined up with 240 degrees. So that's where I'm going to kind of walk towards. But then the second piece of information that we'll need is how far to go. So this is 15 paces. So the next step is to figure out what your pace is and what that looks like. A rule of thumb to know when you're pacing is that every one of your 2 steps equals 1 pace. But everybody's legs are a little bit longer or shorter than everybody else's. So how do you know what your pace is? Well, here at Boston School Forest, our paces are about 4 to 5 feet. That's what we figure the average 5th grade legs are. And so every 2 steps we're going to count as 1 pace. So, and 1, and 2. So I've gone approximately 10 feet from where I start, and 1 and 2. And so we can almost estimate how far the compass points are from each other. If we multiply by 5, that's how far they are. But instead of having like a tape measure or a ruler to go all the way through the woods from one tree to the next, what we want to do is just count our paces. And when you're going through the woods, sometimes you have to duck under branches, or sometimes there's a log in the way, and you have to kind of adjust your path, but then get back on that sight line with that tree that I've got lined up at 240 degrees, and then keep heading straight towards that tree. It's going to look something like this if you're in a group of people using a compass. One person can be the keeper of the bearings and have the clipboard and tell us where we need to go. One person can be the keeper of the compass and dial in the bearing, plug it in, and move our body to find the direction we're going. And one person can be the pacer. And so it kind of works out slick if you've got more than one person in your family that'd be able to help you out with this.
340 degrees. Dialing in 340 degrees. Right there, that tree. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, and 11, and found it!
Welcome to the compass course. We're ready to hit the course and see if we can make it through without getting lost. So our job is going to be to find 6 trees, and on the 6 trees we're going to try to find letters painted on those trees, and then we can unscramble them to come up with an animal that might live here at Boston School Forest. So we're going to tackle the red course, and you notice I have some bearings missing, and that's because we're rearranging some things for your 5th grade in-person learning counterparts, so you're going to be the one that helps me to find those. So red course, here we come. Here's our red start tree. I know it's our start tree because there's a red dot painted on it. So our first bearing is 105 degrees with 11 paces. I'm going to dial in 105 degrees, just like that. I'm going to plug it into my body, and I'm going to turn my body so that the red Fred is in the shed. Okay, and then my directional arrow is pointed out this way. So this is the path we're going to need to walk. I'm taking a look ahead, and I see that there's one tree up there that's kind of like my go-to tree. So I check my list, and it looks like I also need to do 11 paces. So let's count out 11 paces. Look on the back of this tree. Yes, there's a letter R. So I'm going to take it and write it down on my clipboard. All right, we wrote in letter R by tree number 1. Now our second tree is 100 degrees and 22 paces. So here I plugged in 100 degrees. I'm going to turn my body to find out what direction I'm going in, and this is the direction. So it looks like we go 22 paces. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, and 11, and 12, and 13, and 14, and 15, this is getting tricky, and 16, and 17, and 18, 19, and 20. Well, there is a tree here, so I'm going to take a look. Ah, sure enough, another letter. Letter E, let's write it down. Our next tree is 232 degrees. So dial in at 232 degrees. plug it into your body, and let's move our body to put the red magnetic needle in the shed. Whoa, looks like we're going all the way this way. There we go. Follow that directional arrow out, and it looks like we're going right through there. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, and 11, and 12, and 13, 14, and 15, and 16, and 17, and 18, and 19, and 20, and 21, and 22. Here we are, letter G. All right, so our letters are R-E-G. I wonder what animal has the letters R-E-G in it that live here at Boston School Forest. We'll have to keep working. Next tree is 320 degrees. So I have 320 dialed in. Plug it into my body. Move my body. This way some more, back this way, right there. Follow the directional arrow out in front, and I'm walking right through this tree, but it's a little tree, so we're heading that way. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. And there is a letter back here. It's getting very thick. And it's letter D. All right, D was our next letter. So now we need, tree number 5 is 180 degrees. I went to dial in 180 degrees, but I only found the letter S. Well, in orienteering, south is 180 degrees. So we are gonna go directly south. So I turn my body to put red Fred in the shed. There we go. Follow the directional arrow, and I'm literally walking into a tree. So I'm gonna do my best. Looks like there's a little bit of a path just to the left, but I don't wanna get too far off my path or I'm gonna lose my bearing. Here we go. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, and 11. Is there? Oh, there it is. Haha. Letter A. We have one more tree to go. It looks like 217 degrees. So I'll plug it in and move my body back this way to put red Fred in the shed, and it looks like that's the direction we're heading in. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, and all right, letter B is our last letter. Did you figure it out? R-E-G-D-A-B doesn't spell anything, but if we B-A-D-G-E-R, a Wisconsin badger. So badger is the key word for our red course. I hope you had a ton of fun. It'd be great to be able to see you out at Boston School Forest. But compass courses are things that you can put in your backyard. I mean, you can make it even as simple as a treasure hunt and make a map and then give that map to somebody in your home. You can hide a stuffed animal outside. You can hide a colored painted rock. It's pretty fun to be able to explore in the outdoors and to practice the outdoor skill of orienteering. See you next time.